as the first stepping stone to Taiwan itself. That assault failed. But for decades after, the communists and nationalists exchanged artillery barrages, alternating on odd and even days. Paranoia dies hard. Even though Taiwan's state of war with Red China was lifted last year, there's still an enormous garrison here. It's an old friction point between two rival regimes, one nationalist, the other communist, both claiming to be the rightful rulers of the mainland. So Quemoy soldiers stay put, living and working in a network of bunkers built before Chiang Kai-shek's death. Despite this bunker mentality, it's 10 years since Communist China bombarded this island, and that was with propaganda leaflets. But Taiwan keeps its guard up. Every night on Quemoy, there's a curfew, and there are regular air raid drills for the 40,000 civilians.
We do not get any reassurance from the mainland. In fact, one of the important items in the National Reunification Guideline is that we hope during the first stage of our implementation of the guideline, the mainland should reciprocate by declaring the renunciation of the use of force against Taiwan and these islands. But up to now, the mainland has not acted that way.
Today, a company of the 55,000-strong garrison surfaces from caves and tunnels. They're in for a session of disciplined relaxation. This is a peaceful display. There's even a military cha-cha-cha that's likely to be featured when Quemoy is open to tourists as a sort of Cold War theme park. Rulers of China, whether emperor, eunuch or warlord, have always been obsessed with preserving the unity of their vast country. But in the 20th century, China was torn apart by civil war between nationalist forces and the communists.
Just as China was making great democratic progress and trying to bind up the wounds of war, the Chinese communists, aided and abated by Soviet Russia, step up their rebellion.
In the late 1940s, Chiang Kai-shek led his nationalists, the Kuomintang or KMT, to election victory on the mainland. But his regime collapsed in the final showdown with Chairman Mao's Red Armies. 2 million fled with Chiang Kai-shek to Taiwan, within 100 miles of the Chinese coast. In defeat, they still claimed to be China's rightful rulers, and they took with them the imperial treasure trove from the Forbidden City. So the KMT exiles hunkered down on an island roughly the size of Holland. They exploited their American allies' strident anti-communism and clung to their old name, the Republic of China.
President Chiang Kai-shek is China's man of destiny. For more than half a century, his life has been bound up with the triumphs and trials and with the progress and pain of free Republican China.
First of all, Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists brutally purged Taiwan of all opposition. This was a military dictatorship, initially every bit as authoritarian as the communists putting the People's Republic of China on the mainland. Here on Taiwan, the Generalissimo starred as savior of China's cultural heritage, legitimized by seizing the imperial treasure. On a hillside in Taiwan, Chiang Kai-shek built his own palace for the imperial booty he salvaged from the Forbidden City in Peking. The loot is so massive, most of it still packed in the original boxes and concealed in tunnels and vaults. because for years the KMT government feared communist bombing from the mainland. There are over 600,000 pieces squirreled away. Peking says it's the world's largest collection of stolen goods. But at least here in Taiwan, they were safe from the mindless destruction of anything old during Chairman Mao's Cultural Revolution. So 4,000 years of Chinese history have been preserved. The imperial treasure's long exit from China was always just a step ahead of the Red Armies. It was under the care of one of the Forbidden City's curators, Professor Na. He regards this as no fixed abode. Is it your greatest hope to see these treasures back on the mainland?
我也希望它还回到故宫，因为这原来是故宫的东西。这个我不知道，这是什么话说的话？阎王爷爷不叫我回去，我还是就许看到了。这生命哪能知道自己在哪天？
For a country as unique as this, in the sense that it doesn't exist officially in the eyes of most other nations, possession of this most fabulous of all Oriental treasures has practical political uses. Above all, it's tangible evidence of the KMT as past masters of the whole of China. And however absurd it sounds, the next generation of islanders is still encouraged to believe there'll be a KMT restoration on the mainland. There's great stress on the teaching of the Chinese philosopher Confucius. This is his 2,543rd birthday party. Through the ages, Confucius offered a social ethic rather than spiritual answers. He emphasized discipline, obedience, and respect for authority. That appeals to the KMT.
左右正式成军，作为总统的专机。而这架台湾版的空军1号，在经过改装之后，将可以让总统直接在专机上面的飞行途中指挥散军。
在美国，它被称作是空军1号；在台湾，它的代号是3拐动幺。虽然称呼也许不一样，但它们同样都代表着这是总统的专机。从西雅图的波音原厂经过夏威夷和关岛飞回了台北，这也是波音737-800型客机头一次由空军的飞行员飞回来完成交机。飞机的尾翼已经漆上了空军蓝白相间的标准涂装。 编号上看不到民航机才有的 B 字开头。40天在美国密集的交机训练，5位飞行官这一刻才松了一口气。当然，最兴奋的或许还不只是他们。
女人好兴奋哦！
也有来，
嗨。
这是最新一代的飞机，所以在波音来讲，他们是觉得非常的这个荣耀，来推荐我们来购买这架飞机。
这架造价4500万美元的双引擎中程客机，在完成改装后，配备了最先进的电子通讯和保密设备。整架飞机就如同一座飞行中的战情指挥中心一样，让总统即使在空中，照样可以指挥3军，应付任何的突发状况。而编号里头的01，更意味着他在空军专机中队中特有而且是唯一的地位。
至于总统大选的选情方面，副总统连战和夫人连芳玉今天分别前往三峡和桃园的眷村向民众拜年。由于选举已经进入了关键倒数的时刻，身为国民党总统参选人的连战也向大家拜。